Fantastic. Welcome, everybody, online audience. I always like to say welcome to my friends, family, fellow patriots, even you trolls, haters, and stalkers. If you guys hang around for a minute, you just might learn something. We're here in Bend, Oregon. We're all huddled together here in our hotel room. And
Oregon, like a gun show.
Oregon, like your organs.
Yeah, there you go.
Say that. I got to associate. Like Lewis's wife, right? Her name is Araceli, and it's a Mexican name, and everybody says Araceli because it's ARA. So I associated in my mind odd because he's an odd one. Odd, so odd Aceli. That's how my brain works. Glad it works. Sometimes. Well, we got Andrew coming up here to give us the prayer, get us started going properly.
All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for a beautiful day. Thank you for bringing us all together. Thank you that you've preserved us a nation with your divine providence, that we would have this moment to speak freely, to speak boldly, to speak up for the children and the next generation, that we stand in the gap between tyranny and we are advancing the light and the truth. We're steadfast on the word, and we are bravely marching forward in unity. We're setting aside our ego and our pride, and we're linking together, becoming a greater family, a greater community, and help us to walk together in harmony and in victory for your glory. And we pray this in the mighty and powerful name of Christ Jesus. Amen.
All three of us.
You want me?
Yeah, let's just.
All three of us?
Yeah.
All right. All three.
It's a nice.
Triumvirate.
It's a nice here. I'll explain how we got here. Can you do all three mics at one time or not?
It'll take me a moment.
I got this one.
Go ahead. You guys go. I'll figure it out.
All right. So Bruce said he'll figure it out. Yeah, good luck with that, Brucey. When I'm digging on you, you have to hear these things. So how did we get here? So we are in Bend, Oregon. This is interesting. We booked this location, and then for some reason we weren't getting the contracts. They weren't coming. And Andrew and myself were calling relentlessly, trying to get the information to sign off on and to make sure we had. They said we had it, right? And then it turns out that one person was on vacation, and then the other person, that the lady that takes care of it, she works at two locations here in another location. She won't respond to things on this location if she's working at the other one. The red inn or red line inn or whatever it is.
Yeah, we even reached out to the night manager. I'm like, please call me. I got an email. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah, exactly. So we did everything we possibly could, and then finally got a hold of them. They go, oh, you know what? The standing engagement that's here decided to add another night without telling us. So that removed our room, and they didn't let us know. So then we said, okay, what can we do? They recommended across the way, and it turns out that's just a little teeny conference room. And we're like, okay, and we've done this on the boot camp a couple of years ago. We just got a suite. You know what I mean? So we knew it would be packed in here, but this is for everybody online. This is a massive suite. It takes up 3 floors. It's amazing. I don't know why they're laughing at me right now.
You must have cashed in every
Right.
one of your Hilton honors.
I did.
All at once to get this.
I did. Thank you very much.
There you go. That's good.
He knows
That's
what's
good.
going
Yeah.
on. So anyway, so I welcome you here. And here's the reality. It doesn't matter if we have 1 or 30 or 200 like we left in another city. None of that matters whatsoever. It just means God puts us in front of people we need to communicate with. And a lot of times God doesn't put us here to speak to you. It's to learn from you is what we have found out. So we're very open to that as well. So we're going to have a good time here.
Yep.
And let Andrew take it away from this
All right.
point.
So a lot of people have heard about a lot of names in the Truther movement. I bet you've never heard of Andrew Charles Evanch, and that's my name. I'm like John Hancock. I just sign all 3 names as big as I can out there. Quick background on me. I was a travel agent for 3.5 years. I was a cruise specialist, and I became one of the best at what I did. And then 9/11 happened. I was put out of work. 10 days later. And then so I go back to the auto industry, and I'm working in the auto industry in Detroit, and then global financial crisis happens, and it's really hard to find good work when $100,000 a year jobs dry up like no tomorrow. And then I'm down in South Florida as a rideshare driver, and all of a sudden everything comes to a stop. I was making, $100, $150, $250 a day as a rideshare driver, and then the next day I got $4 on one ride. And so obviously somebody in some other part of the world turned off America and turned off the rest of the world as far as the lockdowns. Now, I was trained in the military in heavy equipment operation. We could do construction. I could build you a wall around this building if I had my team members and a few pieces of equipment and some HESCO barrier. We could build you a wall 7 foot high, 7 foot thick, all the way around this thing in a day or two. So we're used to, as a Navy Seabee, we're used to adapting and overcoming. I see a couple of veterans in the room already, and it's like, that's, we take a situation and we make the best of it, or we make it better than what it was before. So when it came to March of 2020, I noticed that there was the USNS Comfort going up the East Coast. Anybody knows the two hospital ships that were going to help? The Mercy was on the West Coast. The USNS Comfort was on the East Coast. It did a circle or made a Q. So either that captain was saying that he was taking it back to 1776, in my opinion, or that he was a Q patriot. I don't know. Could be wrong. In any case, that led me to all the posts, and I started doing my homework, and I realized, oh my gosh, we got a secret war going on. You could have two people wearing the same exact uniform. One loves their ego, their status, and getting ahead by stepping on others. And then the other loves God, family, country. They love their wife, they love their children, and they have a good heart. Now, keep in mind, I did cash my paycheck, my $20,000 signing bonus. I put that to good use. I did, so I served because I love my country, and it gave me great leadership skills and great experiences. But also, ultimately, going back to 2002, I actually got to shake hands with George W. Bush, and the way he shook my hand, I was convinced that we were doing the right thing. So in 2010, I get an all expenses paid trip signed by Barack Obama, sending me over to Afghanistan with 700 of my fellow Seabees. And so we get over there, and it was crazy busy. It was the greatest air show I've ever seen. Why would they not tell us the truth? It's like, so, and going back to Google, with the blacklist file, they're not going to tell you about vitamin B17. Anybody ever take vitamin B17? You ever read a label and see vitamin B17? We know about it now because we've cracked the code, right? We've cracked the code. So Google was putting out 4 + 5 = 10, or they would tell somebody else 5 + 4 = 10. And then two people have bad math and they fight. Anybody notice people fighting in the last 5 years? They're putting out bad math, and they're putting it out on hyperdrive, like that people are just consuming bad math and bad math and bad math. And that's why we're all fighting. Now, if 5 + 5 = 10, 6 + 4, 7 + 3, 8 + 2, 9 + 1, they all equal 10. And if we are all in the truth, we can all get on the same page. So that's what is in sense happening, is that people are coming into the truth. And at some point it hits an exponential where we go from being isolated and divided to coming into the truth and being united. And we're getting really close. So a lot of people are like, oh, we're waiting on this person or waiting on that person. No, it's up to us to link arms with other people from our community. So the most important thing is meeting. Like, for example, I was in Fort Lauderdale. I got Poppy's number. I was in Fort Lauderdale at a truth event. I got Alan's number, Alan Fountain, if you've ever heard him. And so Alan Fountain and I started talking once a week on the phone. I told him, call me at any hour of the day. And there's a couple times he called me at 3 a.m. I'm like, hey, how's it going? How can I help you? And so we became good friends. And then when Kevin was unable to make it for the tour, I got a call from Alan and says, hey, there's a spot on the Unity tour. And I said, all right. And so my 4 years, maybe you don't know my name, but that's because I went after the biggest bear. I found the #1 soldier, Zach Voorhees, that is a civilian, going after the largest corporation that has ever been in the world, Google. And we poked the bear as a team. So we had 2 other investigative journalists working with us. And then we rallied a bunch of other people from South Florida around. And then we rallied a whole bunch of social media types, and we got the message out. We raised $137,000 in 7 days, and it goes before a corrupt judge. 90 days later, they said, well, Section 230, it's their corporate policy. They can do whatever they want. Well, that's where I learned the 2-tier justice system. So there's the corporation that goes back to 1871, and then there's the Constitution that we were taught in school. Now, did any of your school teachers tell you about corporation law?
No.
So every time that in grade school through high school, we weren't taught about corporation law, but none of us were born in 1871. So we all should have been taught about corporation law so that we could actually participate on their same schemes, right? But we're not. So that's why when we go into a courtroom or any of these other entities, that we get the short end of the stick. Every once in a while, they throw us a bone to make it look like it's a fair game, but it's not. 9 times out of 10, they get the upper hand. So I've been doing research nonstop for about 4 years, you know, and I can basically answer to any topic when we get to question and answer later. Lewis is obviously incredibly well researched. Poppy is always getting more information every day. So at a certain point, we'll do question and answer. But, you know, I know that everybody's looking for the heroes to come and save us. But I'm looking in this room and I see a hero in every person that I'm looking at. I see, you know, it's like we're making a transition from sports fans to leaders. You know, when we look at the Declaration of Independence, the people that signed the Declaration of Independence, they were farmers, and they made goods, and they had animals, and they had a blacksmith shop, or they had a silver shop, or they had a transporting company, or they had a small market or a corner store. We represent the same spirit of the revolutionaries. And, you know, thankfully, we're getting to do it with air conditioning. You know, we're getting to do it where we can go right across the street and it's like, oh, what are we going to do for food? And we can order up food real fast. So there are some inconveniences, and we may go through some tough times. So I recommend everywhere I go, get some phone numbers just like I did. I got Poppy's number. I got Alan's number. You know, in my hometown, you know, I'm getting to know the locals there. My best friend there, he's out getting to know the locals. And so now I need to set aside my ego. I need to set aside my pride. Maybe I can do an act of random kindness, or I can say, hey, look, we may disagree about a lot of things, but I care about you as a person. You know, if anything happens that you need help with anything, let me know. You know, and so we don't have a king in our country, right? You know why? Because each one of us is a king and a queen. We are all at that level. Now, how do we live out our kingdom? As servants. We serve one another. Now, the cabal is going to say that we're useless eaters and we're just minions and lemmings and employees. We're more than that. We're not capable of, I know everybody in this room is capable of more than 2 things. You know, they're going to try to tell us, get a job, work for 40 years. And that worked great for my grandfather's generation. It was very tough for my dad, and it was nearly impossible for me. But I've realized I've got so many gifts and talents that, you know, it's virtually unlimited. So if we go from the confines of the programming that we received growing up to our unlimited faith, and we, you know, if we go from being isolated and divided to, you know, is interesting. In one of the towns, I said, let's cheer loudly. And, you know, I'm not sure if we want to do that here, but you know, it's just when you hear thousands of people making a loud noise. You know, I came back from Afghanistan. My commanding officer said, hey, I need somebody to walk the ball out to the mound. And I'm like, no problem, sir. I'd be glad to do that. He's like, oh, great. I had 3 people that said no. So I go out to the Detroit Tigers game. I didn't realize I had a VIP all access pass because they never put a credential on me. I'm just wearing my camouflage uniform. I don't even have my dress whites because now I'm 212 pounds and, you know, Mr. Muscle Man can't fit in his dress uniform anymore. So, so I walk the ball out to the mound and I get a standing ovation. And it literally, the energy was so loud, I was dizzy within 1 to 2 seconds. And then I give a little wave and then I walk back and then the photographer's waving me over and she wants to get a photo. So her whole agenda was to get a photo of me with a girl that I dated for 5 days. Like, she's a good friend of mine, but and so we're rigged up into this photo. They took about 7 other photos, but the next day on Navy.mil, it's like the story that they were running was I came home to my girlfriend. And so it's like, all right, that's how the media works. Is they're going to grab whatever story that they want and run with it. And it's like, all right, well, in any case, I came to realize, there's going to be some very hard pills to swallow, especially for the veterans, that we're the muscle of cabal bankers going around the world. And it's like, it's hard for me to think how, I made one friend that was Australian, and we actually traded uniforms. So the Americans we were working side by side with Australians, and we traded uniforms like soccer players. So I actually had a uniform of a guy that he goes out, and his job was to be searching for explosive devices. So we go out on, we do our construction, we build our base, and then I'm called to another team. And then just a couple days after that, he's leading a convoy searching for an ID and steps on one. And so I was in shock that now I had the uniform of a fallen soldier. And so, and it's just like, literally being in shock for like 3 to 5 days. This guy, he and I were talking, 22-year-old Australian soldier. He was into Subaru Imprezas, and he loved his fiance, and he just hoped that at the end of the tour he'd be able to go and settle down and get married and live his happy little life. And so a lot of the veterans, we come home and we feel guilty because we made it, and then somebody else didn't make it. Well, I know that his spirit lives inside of me, and I'm going to keep fighting the good fight of faith. I'm going to share the truth. I'm going to talk to as many people as I possibly can. I've been so censored on social media. You don't know my name, but I've had 5,000 conversations in person. Why? Because I'm going to adapt and overcome. So I'm going to use every opportunity that I have to meet somebody to, hey, my name's Andrew. How are you? Where are you headed to? Or where are you coming from? Is there anything exciting going on? If I show that I care about them and give them control of the conversation and find out what they're interested in, and then, oh, well, have you heard about this? If they're in the financial world, are you into gold or silver? Have you heard about the quantum financial system? Oh, have you heard about this or that? Have you heard about, and it could be any topic. The last lady a couple nights ago, I noticed that in the front row, she wasn't very interested in whatever I had to say. and she was literally dozing off on me. And I was like, excuse me, young lady, what are you most interested in? She said, dogs. I love dogs. I've, I haven't had a dog of my own, but I'm the first one of all my friends that they call when it's time to have somebody dog sit. If you need somebody to horse sit or to watch your farm and watch your horses, I'm one of the first people call. Hey, we're going out of town. Can you watch the farm? I'm that kind of guy. So we, even though this lady was sitting in the front row and she's thinking we got nothing in common, I stopped everything I was doing and I noticed her and I said, hey, what are you interested in? And sometimes we've got to have that moment that we just slam the brakes on whatever we're doing, because the most important, the way to create unity is to slam on the brakes, take a deep breath, find out who's closest to us, and how do we lift them up to the next place. If we've ascended, whether we're 5D or above, we've gotten away from guilt and shame, and now we're operating in love, peace, joy. We're wanting to be in harmony. Well, guess what? We can either, unfortunately, most of the world likes to put other people down. But if we can find a way to lift people up, and then Lewis even does a great thing explaining how plant a seed. Some people are going to have an epiphany, but a lot of times that takes a few days for that to germinate. So plant a seed. And the best way to do it is by asking a question, because a lot of people have their force field up, or they'll keep people at a distance, or they'll just let it go in one ear and out the other. But asking questions, oh, have you heard about this? Or, oh, have you heard about that? That really seems to work better. And if we treat other people as more important as ourselves, we're going to win more people over. So obviously I'm realizing that I'm on the front lines. I'm with a bunch of leaders on the front lines, and the whole thing's going to shift. The last will be first and the first will be last. So this is the time of the pivot where, like people are like, oh, why aren't there 10,000 people? Well, yeah, there are 10,000 people. They're just coming in the next 48 hours when they watch the video. But when we get all in sync, we'll all be in the same moment. So we're only 48 hours away. The question is, how long are we going to keep doing the things that we're doing and resisting getting on that same snap count, whether it's football, hike on 2, or hut, we're going to go on 1, or if you're from Green Bay, it's going to be 519, it's like, so, but if you're following Peyton Manning, you're going to be listening for that, for the change of play, it's like, so what if our ears are ready for the sound of go, whatever it is that we're given to do, it will be so obvious. One of my favorite prayers is, not my will, but your will be done, and make it so obvious that a caveman would know, because I'm a recovering caveman. But, I want to thank Alan. I want to thank Poppy. I want to thank Lewis, because, my biggest social media exposure in the last 4 years was 2,000 views. So, in one speech, I got more than 2,000 views because of being a part of the unity movement. And so obviously we're made for such a time as this. And whatever we've done in our life that has all been basic training for this moment. We're going to find out what we're really made of, and we are going to be challenged in ways that we've never seen, but we are going to experience the goodness of God in the land of the living. That is one scripture I'm absolutely convinced of. So I just want to say that and pass it back.
I got one here.
Oh, you got one
I'm
too.
good. We got green lights popping. A couple of things. When he talks about slamming on the brakes, driving that
On the cable, careful.
Driving Esther the RV, yeah, you don't want to slam the brakes on that thing, because everything comes flying forward. Stuff explodes out of the back, ends up on the windshield. Position me.
Yes, perfect. Yes, perfect.
Thank you very much. The other thing that he mentioned that stuck with me, that I want to kind of focus on a little bit in the unity. He talked about the bad math, right? He used 10. 5 plus. They want us to believe that 5 plus 4 equals 10. I use the term 2 plus 2. They want us to believe 2 plus 2 equals 5. But what he said before that is what we're experiencing in our Patriot movement right now. We got some people are saying 9 plus 1. That's the way. Or 5 plus 5, 6 plus 4. Everybody's got a different way to get to the same place, and their way is the right way in their mind, and everybody else is wrong, right? So anybody here or online, I've asked before, have any experience in taking down a global Luciferian asshat cabal? Anybody got any experience? We've never done this before. We've never had to deal with this situation in our lifetimes. The only thing we have to look upon, because history repeats itself, we can look to our history for our future, is our founding fathers and the documents that they constructed, that they wrote. Those that's our blueprint, our framework. America, the idea of America is amazing, but what it has become is very, very sad, right? It's not what, there was that commercial, I think it was the insurance commercial. That's not how it works. That's how any of this works. What's going on right now, this is not how it works. We've been manipulated, brainwashed, programmed, MK Ultra, whatever you want, to believe that these ruling elites, these people and the pulling the levers of power, that there are overlords. And no, it's we the people. We're the people have all the power. And the Unity Tour, what we found is those people that have that bad math, they may have a good idea, but they're causing division because their idea is the idea. And it may not be wrong, but they're expecting everybody to conform to them when there's many different paths that we can get to the thing. So Lewis, the idea, the vision for the Unity Tour is kind of set behind or underneath 4 pillars. And the 4 pillars, if you take the word unite, run it sideways, unite to end, and it's right up here, unite to end New World Control. And that's, anybody here is excited about having the World Health Organization, the United Nations, World Economic Forum, Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg Group, Tavistock. There's many of these grueling elites, globalists who are they want to, from some bureaucrat that's unelected, just put in power, dictating to us from the other side of the planet how we live our lives. I don't know about you, but that doesn't excite me at all. I kind of like my freedom. I kind of like, being able to do what I want, when I want, with who I want and all that type of stuff, as long as I'm not trespassing on somebody else, right? I try to live my life by the golden rule. Got to love your neighbor as yourself. So New World Control, we got to stop that. That's when people unite, we can stop. An example of that is recently the World Health Organization tried to
for what's between your ears and your temples. The war is on our minds. The war, that the landscape, the territory, the land they're looking for is between your ears. That's where the war is. And why would it be there now for the first time ever in history like this? Well, the cabal has enough power, they can really grab any piece of land they want through the world. That's easy. They can grab the oil, they can grab the gold, they can do all that. What they've never been able to grab, they've only been able to suppress, is the people worldwide. There's always an uprising. There's always somebody figuring it out, so on and so forth. So what they've been operating for years is the war after our minds. And they've been very, very successful if we're going to be very honest. Because how many people go, Taylor Swift? Right? You know what I mean? How many people say, oh, I got to go watch Jersey Shore or Real World or whatever it is. So, and they've been incredibly strong on the circus that they give us. I mean, I love sports. I played sports my whole life, but I can't watch them right now. Because I'll peek in maybe to a score or something like that, but I don't focus too much on that. And the reason why is because there's a much bigger picture. Here's the reality. None of that circus is going to exist as soon as they win their war. The circus that they give us is purely a distraction while they're manipulating in the background in their processes of completely taking us over and bringing us down to about 500 million people. They've said it on the Georgia Guidestones. They said where they need to be. And you have to believe them when they're saying it, by the way, right? The biggest challenge I see is people do not understand or care to understand our enemy. And the second biggest challenge is we underestimate them by calling them dumb, stupid. They don't know what they're doing. They're not. They're highly, highly intelligent. They work on a 1,000-year, multi-generational plan where we can't think about breakfast the next day. That's a fact. So that's the enemy that we're dealing with. That enemy, there's every one person in this room is a beautiful human being, whether you're a liberal or conservative. But I'm going to tell you, the so-called elite, the controllers, don't look at anyone in here, even their supporters, as a human being. They look at, we are cockroaches to them. Literally cockroaches. So when anybody goes, I can't believe, or I don't understand how they can do this, it's really easy to understand. You're a fucking cockroach. I'm just going to put it bluntly. That's what you are to them. So there's nothing to understand. It's very simple for them to pull the legs off of a cockroach. It's very simple for them to try to turn them into a hybrid, how to crush their. But when you understand your enemy, now you know what you're dealing with, right? So we understand the way they look at us. Why would they do that? Because we are so immensely powerful when we get together. They have to do everything they can to separate us, to F with our minds, to keep us busy, to keep us on what I call the Rockefeller plan. The Rockefeller plan is you work your 8 to 5. You're lucky to get a weekend, and on the weekend you're driving your kids or your grandkids all over the place anyways, and then you're right back on the treadmill come Monday. That's the Rockefeller plan, right? Well, and we've all been there. I've worked for so many corporations, it's crazy. But then I started to see things. I'm like, wow, look at this, look at this. So the people that run the world run it by proxy through all the corporations. We're in a corpocracy. That's what we are in. Did you have mandates here in Oregon?
Yes.
You did, right? Okay. And where did the mandate come from? Or where did it originate?
The governor?
Okay. It actually originated before the governor.
Yeah.
It originated at the White House, and it originated before the White House at the CDC, and it originated before the CDC at the WHO, and it originated at the WHO through the Bilderbergs, and originated before the Bilderbergs to all the controllers that you don't know the names of. Way, way before 2020.
Oh, yeah. I know about all the mandates.
So this is the plan from the beginning. Mandates have zero teeth whatsoever. They can't. You didn't hear it called a constitutional mandate, did you? Because there is this. It's completely anti-constitution. So what happens is it's a dog whistle. So the instructions came from the Bilderberg to WHO. Time for your dog whistle. The WHO says it. CDC picks up on it. The White House picks up on it. The governors pick up on it. And then most importantly, the large Fortune 1000 companies almost unilaterally said, we're going to enforce the mandates. We're going to put stickers on our floor where you can't stand within 6 feet from each other. We're going to put masks on everybody that walks in, right? And we know that the middle and the smaller businesses aren't going to do that. So then the governments come in and they try to enforce them and shut them down. See how that works? There's mandate is zero enforceable whatsoever. All we had to do is say no.
Anybody got in trouble for not wearing a mask or not complying with those things, you didn't get a ticket or citation for not wearing a mask, right? No, you got ticket removed for trespassing.
That's right.
Because the owner of the business, they have some autonomy in that, refuse service to anybody, right? Based on whatever is up their ass at that particular day. So you were removed for trespassing. You were charged or taken out for trespassing. It had nothing to do with the mask.
And then when you didn't leave, you were charged with resisting arrest.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
a game.
fought the police,
It's all a game. It's completely unenforceable. The challenge is you would have 1 out of 100 people walk into a store, maybe if you're lucky, and not wear a mask.
Yeah.
Right? But you guys are you all in here
walk in without a mask like you own the place, man.
Right. And I did it. My wife and I would never ever wear a mask. Never ever wear a mask. And sometimes we got shit on, and sometimes they were afraid. It was the weirdest thing. And I would walk into Home Depot, and it was so funny because at the time I owned a construction business, right, without my mask, and I would go in there so often without a mask, they didn't know what to do. So they literally, for me, they posted a lady at the door, only the door that I would always enter because there was 3 doors, with masks. Right? Waiting for me in the morning because I would meet my crew there. My crew would follow me in without masks. It would freak everybody out. And what did they do? As soon as they go, and I went, the first time I went in by myself, my crew ended up staying in a truck because I was just grabbing something. So I walked in early in the morning and she's right there. She's like, here's a mask for you, sir. I go, oh, that's so thoughtful. Thank you very much, but no. And I just walked away.
Take it and put it in my pocket.
She went like this. She froze. And then a manager came up to me and says, oh, we have a mask for you. I go, do you now? Appreciate that, but no, thank you. And I kept walking. They don't know what to do because I act like I just don't understand. I'm like, oh no, thank you. You're so sweet. You know what I mean? And they don't know what to do. They self-destruct, right? So they're expecting 1 of 2 things. They're expecting me either to comply or be combative, right? When I don't play into their game, they don't know what to do, and it's a lot of fun. And I've done this at several places. Most of the people I work with has done something similar. So the reason why I'm bringing up the mask mandate, because it applies to everything. Virtually every rule that comes down that is not a constitutional law, they have no teeth whatsoever. What happens, though, is when somebody of authority comes up to us and asks us to comply to whatever it is, we say, okay. And that's why they work. As soon as you say no, they stop working. I've said no to the cops. The FBI are in my house. I said no. I interrogated the FBI. I said, you guys work for me. Have a seat. Come in my backyard. Would you like iced tea or lemonade? Let's have a conversation. They're like, oh shit. And sure enough, I interrogated them. I said, here's this is this. Don't play games with me. You know where I was on J6. You've already tracked my wife and my phone, so don't play games like you don't know and you're trying to get me to tell you. Do you know? Yes, sir, we know. Okay, great. So now that you know, I'll tell you where I was. Right? So it's not that I'm a tough guy. I just understand the game. And when we, the people, understand the game, I would suggest to you that it only takes 1 out of 1,000 to understand the game and consistently not comply to any of this BS. We win, because these are bullies we're dealing with, right? And if anybody's dealt with a bully before, they're a bully because they're fearful themselves. When you confront a bully, so I used to do a lot. My wife hates it. I still do it today. So I would see gang members alone in grocery stores sometimes, right? And I would have so much fun with them. I would walk up. There's a gang member. He's right there. I'd stand right next to him. Hey, man, how you doing? What's up? How you doing? Having a good day? They freak out. She's like, why do you do that? I go, I'm trying to show you that when they're by themselves, they're completely cowards. Now, if where there was 3 of them and I did that, they would all puff up their chests and do everything like that. Why is this important? Because the most powerful thing that we can do is say no to all of this stuff. No is by far the most powerful word that we have. The challenge is, especially conservatives, we've been conditioned to be so polite. Haven't we? Is it possible that us being so now, can you be nice? Can you be a gentleman and still not comply? Absolutely. We've been conditioned through conservative radio, television, and churches to be docile. Just be quiet. Just be nice, right? Because it's conditioning. But the 5%, the Marxist 5%, they get everything they want, don't they? Because they're loud, they're in your face. When are we going to get in somebody's face and take our country back? Are we going to be so nice and so compliant that we're going to leave our grandchildren in? We have to take accountability for this ourselves and say, we're going to make the change. My wife would tell you, she's watching right now. Hi, love you. She texted me she goes, microphone not too loud, microphone too loud, move over to the left. I mean, she's so she just scolded me. I just saw the last one. She scolded me. She said I cut Bruce off. So anyway, she's right. Like why'd you tell me? But anyways, she will tell you that well, okay, I'll ask Bruce, and people that meet my children say they're very respectful. Is that correct? They're very nice.
That is true.
They'll open the door for anybody. They'll carry anybody's bags. They'll walk an old lady across the street, whatever they need to do, right? So you can actually be nice, be a gentleman, be very kind, be charitable, but when it comes time to it, not take anybody's shit, right? And that's who we need to be as patriots. We need to say, no, I am not playing your game. I opt out of your game all the time. And we need to become the loud ones. And when I say we need to be the loud ones, we need to be the loud ones. Unfortunately, I've done it a couple times, but it's gotten some attention. I'll tell you that. If we see something that's not right, we need to handle it immediately. And I think this is the difference. And why do I say this? And I love saying this part right here. Again, and many people online, hopefully you're now saying it before I say it. January 20th, 2017. Do you know what happened on that day? Does anybody know what happened on January 20th, 2017?
There's something going on in D.C.
President Trump's inauguration. Okay. And who did President Trump have behind him? Military intelligence, to be exact. Slew of military intelligence. And what did he say that was so powerful? And he pointed to them. He says, we gave it back to the people. Ooh, I got the God bumps right there. I love that. So we gave it back to the people. We didn't take it, though. We dropped the ball. We decided to eat popcorn, wear our little froggy masks, sit on our bed, and trust that plan. The willfully ignorant, right. But there was a different plan, which I've been, anybody knows me, I've been screaming it for 4 years. And that plan was for we the people to grab the ball that President Trump passed to us and take it to him. Because I do believe there is a White Hat operation going on in the background. I do believe they're doing a phenomenal job. But I can also tell you, because I get reports all the time, right? So there's a huge cleanup operation that needs to be done. And it has to be us. We have to be the whistleblowers. We have to be the ones willing to lose our pension, lose it all to save this country, because where this country goes the world. And we're on the precipice. So I do believe God's already won, but we are 100% in control of the timeline. And I think that's the piece that we're just not grasping, that it's up to us. If it is, well, we're doing it right now. And we have, probably 10,000 online. So we're going to travel all over the country, and you guys can reach the people in general. The fastest way to reach the people, and Bruce kind of hinted at this earlier, is just plant a seed. We truth barf on people, and I'll tell you what, you lose them for a while, sometimes a year or more, right? So we have to understand patience. If your goal is to wake them up within a year, and you truth barf on them and lose them 2 years, right? You've already messed up your goal. But if you plant a seed, they come back to you in a few months or a year, you're good. Does that make sense? So we have to look at the bigger picture. And patience is immensely important in this. You have to speak to people where they are, not where you want them to be. And it's tough. It's tough. I want to tell everybody about adrenochrome, right? I really do. It's a real thing. I want to tell everybody that there is something called Q that's misunderstood, and it is an intelligence operation, and it's a psyop on both sides, by the way. We're being psyop by Q at the same time, but it's because it's the messaging that the baddies are reading from it kind of get them all discombobulated. So that's the reason for it. So that operation is important. I want to tell them that there's a military operation in the background. I want to tell them that there's, unfortunately, understands with panda eyes, you should look it up because it's horrible. The challenge is not everybody's there. Not everybody's ready yet. Not everybody is. And I would say probably 80% of your Republican friends are not there either. Because my wife would say, there's asleep, there's awake, but most people are drowsy. And they may even think they're awake, and they're so far from being awake. This is so deeper and so much scarier than we could possibly imagine. But I believe God's hand's been on all of it, trying to take care of it, because I believe this is the biggest spiritual battle of all times. And I'm not saying that just because I'm here. I believe everybody in this room right now, you're warriors brought here for this reason. If you think about this, if you just brought one person over to your realm of thinking right now, and that person did the same, we're done. So what we do is, and I always say, if it's simple, it's God's work. If it's messy, it's something else. It's really simple. Just get one, and one gets one, and we're done within a few years. So what can we do is we have to take it the extra mile. And this is something I've been saying a lot lately, and I need to do this. I haven't done this in my own hometown. We need to probably start knocking on the doors of neighbors. Back in the day, we had the porches on the front of the houses, not on the back, right? We used to wave at the neighbors when they go by, right? Oh, John's mowing the lawn. Hey, John, how you doing? Can I help you out? We don't do that anymore. I was in an industry that we were building nicer backyards. That's what I was doing. And then it hit me about a year before I closed the business down because of this, what we do now. It hit me. I'm like, I'm going to start talking about front yards. Let's see if I can get people motivated to do work on their front yard and then can hang out there. And it worked. I was surprised. People yearned to meet their neighbors and see things. There's one guy in Ventura, California. I don't want to say his name, but his wife is a hoarder, like a mega hoarder. And it's because they lost a son. And that's generally how I think it was a daughter. I apologize. That's generally how some of these things happen. He wasn't uncomfortable in his house, right? And we talked about the outside, the back. And I said, you know what? I said, you can spend $80,000 on the back, or you can spend $35,000 on the front. I can do something wonderful for you, right? Easier access for us. We can build it. And now you can go start meeting your neighbors. And immediately he's like, let's do that. So I saved him money, but made a better space for him. So we would get calls and messages, emails from him. He's out there every day with a book and his coffee. And he's met so many people because he goes, hey, neighbor. That's all he did. And to his surprise, they're like, hey, how you doing? And he met everybody. We need to be able to step up now and meet the neighbors and literally knock on doors. You know what I mean? It worked for the Jehovah's Witnesses. It works for the Mormons. Maybe it could work for you.
But
Now, you don't have to, I'll give it to you in a second. You don't have to hammer your message home. You find some unifying message that you can get along with, right? There's got to be something in the community probably most people aren't happy with. You know what? I'm just concerned about a couple things in the community. I'm one of your neighbors, even if you live a couple blocks away. You go, you have a second to chat? If they're not available, you just leave a little card behind, with a little message and say, hey, this is what it's about. I have a feeling you're going to be shocked at how many people come around. Because when I wear goofy shirts like this, or you wear the We the People shirt, I've actually had people say something to you. It's engaging. It's amazing. People are yearning for this. And in order to make progress, we always have to make ourselves a little bit uncomfortable to do so. Do you have something you want to say?
No, but we've been conditioned through our social construct. When if he was talking about somebody, you're walking down the street and somebody yells out, "Hey, how's it going?" You're like, "What the fuck does he want?" Or somebody comes and rings your door and you're like, "What the fuck is that? How come they didn't text me? Let me know they were coming." We get all freaked out. We need to get back to the community thing. And that's why I've been focusing so much on the mindset stuff. Because if I'm the best human being I can be, I'm nice, I'm bold, I can be a beast, right? That's another thing I love about Jordan Peterson talks about, being able to be a beast, right? You can be a monster. You can be able to take some shit, make some stuff go away, erase some people or type of attitude. You have to be able to have that inside you, but control it. And then you can come walk in boldness. Every place I walk into, I walk in like I own the freaking place, because it's just the way I carry it, how I believe, and then people see that and they feed off of that positive energy. So if we be the best humans we can be, we don't have to go and try to convince our neighbors and friends that adrenochrome is real. If you're just to be the best and happy, live on that high vibration, love, kindness, consideration, compassion. Andrew talks about a random act of kindness, help somebody out. People freak out. Everything else is burning around you, and you're all happy-go-lucky, and be like, "What's up with you? What's going on?" And that opens the door. If we could just be the best and show that love, just like the song says. We're in this love bubble, and it's a challenge, right? It's a challenge with all the stuff going on around us. It's a challenge sometimes. It's a minute-by-minute battle in our minds to be able to fight off this stuff. So that we're going to talk about here the freedom and action stuff here in a minute. But if, we got somebody here, a local-ish dude, who I want to have share with you. His name is Conan, the Barbarian. No, he's been a helper on Jack Lander's show and Jason Q, We Not Me. Fantastic guy. I'm going to give him the microphone and let him share about his thoughts, and because he's got maybe some better insight about what's going on here locally. So introduce Conan.
If I borrow your chair.
Absolutely.
I'm going to borrow yours. I'll keep it warm for you.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. I don't know if this is coming through, but hey. Hi, everybody. I'm Conan.
Hi, Conan.
I am here to give you a word to remember and remind me. Busy. Okay. So if I have to, so you can key me in. All right. I don't know what you want me to do. I'll tell you a little bit about myself if you'd like. And then I'm going to get into some topics that have been covered quite well, and maybe take it a little bit further for you, because I have a unique set of skills, so to speak. I'm very quiet and reserved on a lot of the co-hosting I do. Jason Q has a gift called focused ADD. meaning he can focus on 150 different topics and hit on every one of them, not really lose himself in it, and still recall them. But everybody has to play catch up and watch his episode 3 more times
Yeah.
just to catch up. Okay. Jack Breaks Out, co-host there, and Jack Lander likes to focus a little bit more on critical things that have been written in Washington, D.C., like the Articles of Confederation, the Constitution, very important things that have missed. But I'll give you a little bit of my background story so that you're all more familiar with how I came to be offering time, volunteering time. I've gotten gifts from people that watch the shows. I've gotten cool coffee mugs and stuff like that. Awesome. I don't do this because I want to. I do it because I have to. And I'm almost sure, Andrew, you being a CB, I probably got more seat time than you as an Army guy. You got 0 seat time. Post Desert Storm, I came up on some orders. And since I was at Corps level, I got pulled up into Corps level communications office at the G shop, the G6, with a major and a master sergeant who became my mentor as a young soldier. He says, "Oh, you're on orders to Korea." I don't want to go to Korea. I'm trying to get to Europe. I want to see Europe. He says, well, we can make you, we can do something about that. He picks up the phone, takes care of business. I say, he's like, "You're not going to Korea anymore." Awesome. Week later, "Hey, you're back on cycle again." "Oh, yeah?" He says, "Yeah, you're on cycle." "Where to?" He says, "I don't know, but you have to go down to S1 because they have to give you the envelope. Give me the envelope." Crack that bad boy open. And I literally had 17 days, literally 17 days to process, get my TS SBI initiated, and get on a bird and get my happy butt into Orlando to the Naval Air Station, where then I got to go into a bunker out in the middle of a tarmac after going on a ride in a van with no windows. And then I got read on, and then I ended up in Central America on Sotocano, Honduras. Used to be named Pomarola Air Base, in the middle of a canyon of mountains that you literally had to circle the bird down in order to land. And it's barely long enough to take off. And I went out on drug interdiction missions for the next year and a half. I spent quite a bit of time on both sides of the Central American, the middle section. We only have Northern and Southern America. There's no real Central America, but it's the center part. So there's 3 bodies of water, right, where we got on our west coast side. Got what? What is it called? The Pacific. All right. So they got the North Pacific Ocean right there off of Panama, above Colombia, and all that fun stuff. And then what's the body of water on the other side of Panama? The Caribbean. The Caribbean, to be exact. Caribbean Ocean. All right. And then that other one that's right below Texas is what? That's the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, so I spent a year and a half doing drug interdiction missions. I trained radar detection to individuals that came on the vessel. We, made contact, all that fun stuff, left, did all this fun in between stuff. I served on all 3 of the vessels the Army operated, plus trained up 2 Coast Guard crews on 3 vessels that the Coast Guard was going to initiate, which are called lighter than air balloons, otherwise known as aerostats. All right, like those big blimps, like the old airships that used to happen. Yeah, on the tethers, you got a 91-meter balloons that are on the actual border, right? Yeah. Well, you got 31s that are moored onto the back of ocean-going vessels, and so, by golly, I spent a year and a half, and it didn't hit me until after the fact that what was the one body of water we never patrolled?
Atlantic.
Out of those 3 bodies of water we talked about. because we were patrolling for drug runners on by water and by air. That was our thing, track and trace, and then bust. One's the one area that we didn't go into and patrol. The Gulf.
Yep.
This is early 90s. Anybody recall what
Yep.
was going on? All right.
Well,
Yeah.
cocaine to
Yeah, and
Oklahoma.
so that was kind of like we became all of a sudden declassified about 2/3 of my time frame in that unit. And next thing you know, we had everybody and their mother wanting briefings and whatnot. And so then we could talk more freely about what we did. We used to say, "Oh yeah, we're a weather identifying service." Yeah, our vessel goes 6 knots, and we have a contact vessel. But yeah, we're out here checking for weather. But just before that unit, I was helping a NCO back in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where I started off. And I was a communications guy, so I was a part of a lot of different elements, infantry, engineers, you name it. And so I was getting ready, and I was asked to go help this staff sergeant set up for a ceremony for the 1-star. So I'm setting it up, and I pull this flag out, and we're putting the bases down, and I was like, and I never really paid attention. I pulled it out, and I was like, "What's this gold fringe, Sergeant?" He looks at me, he says, "You don't know what the gold fringe is? You got a lot to study. You got a lot to learn." And this is just moments before I got those 17-day out orders. So how busy did my mind get? There's that word, busy. I was busy doing what they told me to do, not what I ought to be doing. But that was kind of my starting of the wake ups. What is that? What did that mean? And then when we didn't get any of the intel back from our bus after we got declassified, that became odd. And as time goes on, and my time frame in the service of over a quarter of a century, it just got different. And then I was a drill sergeant, and I was on a known distance range with my platoon with the company on a known distance range in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and 9/11 hits. Well, I didn't watch the damn film footage. Y'all seen it, and that took me years before I ever saw anything about it. That was the least of my concerns because I was what?
Busy.
Doing what they and not what I ought to have been doing, which is self-sufficiently training and teaching myself. Yeah. And so that's where my journey really started and my service time. But it's about the things that I've learned in. I'm just another person, another guy. Until what? I got around a bunch of other people that matter. Then I matter. Now, another duty that I got to do was recruiting. And Lewis and everybody's telling you, we got to unite. Everybody likes to spit about recruiters, right? Oh, those damn recruiters, they'll lie. There was a time period way back that, yeah, those recruiters are a bunch of lying, heathenist jerk-offs. But in all volunteer service and with an active work going on, because later on I had to go into recruiting duty after drill sergeant, then later on I went into answer the call for recruiting. You learn that you best just tell the damn truth about what's going on. Am I going to get deployed? You got a quarter? You want to flip it? How many times are you going to go heads? That's your answer. Are you going to get deployed? Are you going to be in danger? Well, based upon the mathematics, then it was in Chicago. That was the facts.
Yeah.
That was the facts. So I didn't lie. I couldn't have gotten a 3 enlistment average each month for 36 months lying to family members and parents. There's no way. So here's the technique and tactics. You keep saying we got to unify. You got to recruit. And I want to teach you a little bit of if that's okay, just a
Oh,
little
please
bit
do. Yeah.
on recruiting and methods and techniques and tactics, TTPs, right, to help you become force multipliers, a force for your freedom, right, and your liberties, mostly liberties. Freedom, to me, that's a gray area. Freedom means you can do carte blanche, anything. Liberties is what I seek within moral realm. Yes, and that's what I defend is the liberties that we enjoy, things that are morally okay, things that are legitimately going to be fine for you and I to live with. So it's our liberties that I concern myself with. So everybody and other people, and I'm a little bit educated. I did get educated in college. Yes, I went to an indoctrination. It wasn't quite so bad, obviously, as it is nowadays. And it doesn't take much to get through a university or college, and it doesn't take that much to get through a high school. And being on high school and watching it happen, it was very quick to see. It was going bad and going south for some time. Now, before we get into that, I do want to remind myself to talk a little bit about. So somebody make sure you remind me, and I'll break some things out for you so that you all know. So when we think of, and so my education was physical education, health, sports medicine, psychology, and then organizational leadership or development is what interchangeable in a lot of the disciplines. Everybody has their personality set. My instructor in recruiting school, because I was a drill sergeant and very stern and I'm very isolated in personality, but I learned how to be able to communicate because I also had to become a podium instructor at the same time before. So, I mean, you're forced to learn things in the service, right? My service members, you have to learn certain things that you may not want to do, but you're told to do. But it was beneficial. So I learned how to get in front of people and talk and communicate. And what you're going to find out is we all have our own different personality sets, and we can tell by our demeanors. You know, I might be, so think of your primary color wheel. Okay, I might be a big slice of blue, but you might only have a little bit of blue, but you're more red. But I have a decent red patch, and I can go, hey, if I if I synchronize my personalities that are more that way, now is it chameleon? A little, it is, but it's where you're comfortable in your own amount of that area. So just go to that because it'll make them more comfortable. So how they act, find that if they're demure, if they're a little standoffish, and it's okay to be a little standoffish and say, "Hey, I don't really mean to pry. You know, I'd like to have a conversation. Do you mind?" Asking for the entrance into a conversation to somebody will actually help them open that door for you. So, little techniques that you'll understand is wherever you perceive them, that's probably exactly where you need to be, going back to Lewis's point, but it also has to be in your personality. And we all have those different amounts of each color, but everybody has a different primary color that they lead with in their personalities, right? So, to get in front of them, I'd say it doesn't take much to adjust and learn from that. But there's one thing that I've been doing aside from going co-hosting. I go to a cigar lounge, and there's three liberals with a definite problem with Trump. But after time and again, I start educating these over here about the Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, and that the Articles never really went away, and that the Constitution is a law underneath the Articles of Confederation based upon the requirements of what the Articles of Confederation required for voting it in. It's only a law. Scary part is treaties are stronger than even the Constitution or the Articles of Confederation. So that's where we have to be very careful. Poppy brought it up. That crazy WEF bull crap. Treaties are most powerful. over sovereign nations. So we must really be aware of those. Okay. And so they always do closed sessions when it's treaty time. That's why we don't get to hear about it. Okay. So I would like to invite you all to look on Rumble for Jack Breaks Out. Just like that, all 3 words. There is plenty that Jack Leonard covers to help educate you in the topics that you can start discussing, because they're not esoteric per se. They're not far-fetched to have these conversations. You can go really deep once you get into it. And then once you get in that topic, just like that color of your personality, you can start shifting those topics and getting a little bit deeper on different topics with them. And so all the way back to thorium, this invasive species acts, and all the rest of these things, Jack, we cover on that channel. And you can get those topics will help you enter your foot into that entryway with somebody to start talking about those things. And that may be very beneficial to recruiting more numbers for us. Because that's what it comes down to. You can't just watch the podcast and not share it. And if you can't share the link with somebody not knowing whether or not they'd accept it, do you enjoy quilting? Do you enjoy cigars, smoke shops? Wherever there are more people, that's where you have to get the word out. So you're kind of taking something of that man called Christ out of his playbook. Because you can't educate anybody if it's just you in the room. And once again, if it was just me alone, I'm just another person. I'm not great until I'm around all of you, because you all make me great, because we together make each other great. Well, wouldn't it be nice to have even more? But we got to recruit. We got to speak what we know and not fear somebody shunning you. You know how many times I've been told no in recruiting? Thousands of times. Made bad comments. I had to recruit in the Northwest, right? In the Oregon footprint. I was a senior guidance counselor at the MEPS. There's all sorts of, stuff. They sent a Polynesian out to Nebraska. I was just the first on it, though, so it wasn't as bad. I didn't have to meet the public other than trying to recruit the Cornhusker lineman. Yeah, that didn't happen. But so that's the quick in an envelope. And I'll extend out to you all now and let you know, if you all are staying in this area, I'll stay after. We can meet at somewhere downstairs or whatnot independently if you want more questions about different topics. Who's heard of Tartaria? Old world buildings.
Yep.
Yeah, and anybody watching, what's the newest guy that everybody's enjoying the most? Huh? My lunch break. Did you know that 4 years prior, another guy was really, really great on that on YouTube, John Levi? And guess what? His book is awesome. Him and Edward. Yeah, that's a great, great book. So there's other topics we can discuss, and I'm more than willing to hang around and meet down wherever and hang out with you more and have conversations. It's only a 2.5 hour drive. I just got done running 11 hours down to Fresno and back for a change of responsibility ceremony that I was invited to from one of my old subordinates that just took over as a command sergeant major. Which brings me on to another topic. If and when you pray again, what I saw of my army, understandably, I already seen it and watched it and felt it happening my entire time. It was going off the rails slowly but surely. And that's why the command psychiatrist that they sent me to at the end, towards the end of my career, says, well, I guess I have to label you with something. Oh, yeah, you better be careful on what you're labeling me with. Adaptive personality disorder. Why? I'll take that. I'll take that. Fine. I'll have adaptive personality disorder because I don't want to adapt to the crazy shit I've been seeing.
Right.
I would much rather foul mouth a person up than put it in writing, because when I put something in writing, I'm a very eloquent writer and I know how to go through UCMJ and I can wring somebody out. In fact, probably too well. And there's a part of me that looks back and kind of regrets how tough I was on some individuals. But at the same time, I probably would do it again the same way because they did deserve it. I could have probably been a little bit softer on how I did it. But you know what? I'm not perfect. I've been spiritual. I understand there's a creator. I'm still a work in progress. I can't get through a day without screwing up at least 20 times. I'm not a perfect person. Trying to be. I will be. I'll get there. So, busy. I got busy and I finally found the time in retirement in researching. But you know what everybody was talking about, the whole crap with masks and all that stuff. So here I am sitting in operations in the recruiting battalion, and I'm working in ops before I went to go take over the MEPS guidance, senior guidance position. And they bring out this update to the command policy. And this is a first. They made us actually read this thing, and then they wanted us to initial off saying that we've read it and understood it. Well, this was a unique update. It is from the United Nations. Yeah. The verbiage in there, I recalled very well. Color-coded quarantining. So then when that BS in 2020 occurred, and the DHS, the Department of Health and Services here in Oregon, who's from Oregon? Oregon, anybody? Idaho's, Oregons, North Carolina, awesome. Bragg, oh, I got some great. There you go. Got the Sergeant Major. Nice. Yeah. Daddy Sergeant Major. Nice. Bragging the red roofs. Hey, you'd be nowhere without Delta. I'll tell you that right now. And I'll bring up another topic. If you remind me about Delta at the very end here, I'll give you an awesome uplifting feel. All right. Not to say that everything's coasting. I'm probably designed and built and trained a lot more so than most. Have I been indoctrinated? Yes, obviously. I was well trained for a long time. Was I a good robot? Yeah, I was a good little soldier boy. I was an asshole when they needed an asshole. I took my comeuppance when I was too much of an asshole. Okay, great. But then they didn't want assholes anymore. And it's getting scary. So when I asked you about pray for our current service members, because what I see is a faltering. I never watched a guide-on handoff between two command positions in that ceremony done so horribly and incorrectly, and nobody even gave a damn, except for old heads. We're like, did you see that crap? Yeah, it was just like beards because they're Nordic. I have nothing against somebody being a Nordic religion. Polytheism. There's probably more truth in that than there is. It's a split of something that's probably both, right? Everybody's used to that thing. Read between the lines. You got to read between the lines. Everybody heard that one? Whoever thought you had to read between history books? The entire thing. You're having to read in between literal topics and decipher what is the truth of it all, right? And that's the state we're in. And I can only say is, don't let it get you down. Don't let it depress you. Be excited, because at least you're learning it for yourself. You're doing it for yourself. And then you'll be able to teach others. And then when you're teaching others, you'll be recruiting others. And so it all goes together. But it's just reading between the lines is just so absurd.
You're supposed to be reminded about Oregon voting.
You want Oregon voting? Okay. So, all right, here we go. Oregon voting, we'll wrap this bad boy up. So I was part of assisted way back, right after the 2020 bullshit. and I'm still a part of that thread, and we still communicate, and I still share a lot of the knowledge and the things that are uncovered and taught and learned. What is the Oregon the righty party registered base?
What? Say it again.
The Republican, the righty party.
Our base?
What's the base that are registered? Approximately the numbers.
I have no idea.
As of 2020 is about 950. 950. Okay, 950,000.
People total? Oh,
950,000. Okay, that's what they were ahead on the books, around 950. Then you looked at the Democrats, the demon rats, however you want to say it. I don't care. I hate both the parties because they're just as damn corrupt as each
Yep.
other. They're all in the same damn bed playing whatever games that they're playing. They're at 1.2 something million. Okay, but then you got your NAVs, non-affiliated voters in Oregon. Yes, your ballot's got serial numbers and all that good stuff, but you have an NAV base of 1.7 million non-affiliated to a party voter because of motor voter. And just recently, guess what happened in motor voter? Caught red-handed with several hundred registered illegals. Okay, just in the last week.
Imagine that.
Okay, so you got a slush pile of NAVs that can be pushed around to who they see fit. That's a problem with how it's all playing out, right? And because a ballot's a ballot and an image is an image, it's the legalese that protects them. Okay? Because you say, oh, I want to verify that I voted. And shit's going to tell you, yeah, you voted. And they're going to tell you what you voted for because that is now an image. You don't have rights to the image of your vote. And they're going to tell you because that's protected, how they legalese themselves to protect it in their corporate fictional laws. Because you treat it in corporations. That's why you have to stand on amendments when you get into something. You have to stand on amendments, not on what they're saying about Constitution. Constitution is Constitution. That's corporate. You have to go for your rights, the first 10 amendments. Okay?
So does the NAV and the Republican Party numbers outnumber the Democrats?
Yes.
Together, yeah.
Yeah. Even if you were to splice it, even if you only gained 50%, you're going to gain more than that because I've been across the nation just like these young gentlemen have been, even though they're both older than me. This state is far redder than you can shake a stick at. Okay. Now I want to give you a quick story about elections and who's ever heard of a Kevin Mannix? You heard of? Huh? Mannix? No, that's he's Oregon. Now I want to give you a little history. So I went in. I threw my hat in the arena to become a rep in the precinct I was in, precinct committee person. And so I won that, and so I became precinct, and then I went. And there's just as much division in there with a bunch of not knowing, not ever read anything, not discerned anything about law, constitution, state constitution. They just assume wipe their asses with it in there, and they're there for notoriety and popularity. And it was very frustrating to watch it. But here's this guy who has to be there for the elected, because we have to elect the seat, who's going to keep things scheduled and do, help lead the precinct around. And so they have to have an outsider come in to hold that vote. So it happened to be Kevin Mannix. And it's funny because I'm sitting here because I was so apolitical in my service time. I admit it. I chose to be that way because I serve everybody. I was apolitical. I wasn't going to pick my commander in chief because that was up to the people that I served. I was so apolitical. That's just the truth of it. I didn't participate in voting. Changing the state. You are going to be going into a whirlwind of a constitutional crisis, is what I see in the future. The Articles of Confederation still stand. You can't replace the Articles of Confederation. It's the one document that bound us as a union of states. The Constitution is a law underneath the Articles of Confederation based upon how many states voted it in and how it was voted in the Congress at the time. We can always go back to that. But what I see is something that's going to be, and what Jack sees is something that's not going to make a whole heck of a lot of sense if you don't read up and kind of figure it out now. So where do we start? We start by a crumpling and a dusting off of something that it should have always been. Like Roe versus Wade went back to the states where it should have stayed to begin with. That's the power of the people. And you know, ladies, there's nothing against you. You're over 50% of the population in any state. You can get it voted in if that's the type. If you want a pro-choice, no pro-choice, the power is there because guess what? Of all the 23 amendments, that's one of the amendments that followed the actual method requirements of the Articles of Confederation that would change the Articles permanently. So women's suffrage is permanently in there. You can vote it in however, any way you want to slice it and dice it. You're still in power in that aspect. But it's at the state levels where it should be. And there's a lot of things that are going to stay the way they should because those, you can actually see the amendments on how they were selected and voted on and went to the states' legislatures and how those states registered them. If all the states blessed off on it, it's a permanent change, not to just the Constitution that they meandered over in 71, 18, but it changes the Articles of Confederation as well, permanently. It becomes an actual article. So that's how we get back. We have to go through, I say, to be the Q, you know. And that's the one thing, a topic that you might want to kind of slowly engulf your recruiting into that realm, but keep it into topics. And I'll give you another tip here in a second on getting people to communicate with you. But we're going to have to watch the demise of it, and you'll see certain things are already happening that are already shifting it. If you've been paying attention. Now, what I think about P. Diddy, I think that's an op to sweep attention somewhere. Because it's in the worst freaking district that could have ever done that apprehension.
I say that all the time.
It's like the worst location.
They pulled it into the Southern District of New York so they can contain it, not so you learn anything.
So they can
that's
control.
That's how they contain the information.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you something. No. They're playing their little hijinks.
Yeah, well, the Southern District of New York, in my opinion, I guess I'm not on camera. Sorry, everybody.
Oh yeah. Louis getting.
So the Southern District of New York grabbed this case, right? That should have been the first red flag, because what happens is it's same thing with Epstein. When they grab a case, have you learned anything about Epstein after that? It's just Epstein and Ghislaine. That's it. It's almost like nobody else is involved, right? How about Harvey Weinstein? It was just Harvey Weinstein.
The telltale for me was he went from getting turned over in California and ransacked,
right?
And then all of a sudden he ends up in his New York pad getting ransacked and actually arrested.
Right.
That tells you. So they let that dude go from point A to point B before they actually clinked him. That's a setup deal, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a weird optics going there. We have to figure out what.
Yeah, there's a lot to it.
But to be in the Southern District of New York doesn't make any sense based on their history. They're the ones going after Trump.
Yeah.
So that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Conan, do you have anything else?
Last thing, open-ended fact-finding questions. Do not ask people yes and no questions.
Yes.
Open-ended fact-finding questions. What do you think of this?
Socratic.
How do you take this in right now? Don't ask a question that can be simply replied back in a yes or a no. That's how you enter into a conversation. You can actually keep delving that topic with them. Go out and recruit.
Forces them to give you more information.
Thanks for letting me talk with you all. Does anybody want me to hang around afterwards and hang out? Oh, Delta. Okay. Since the conception of Delta Force that was approved off by Jimmy Carter. Yes, I said Jimmy Carter, JC. There's a lot about old JC there that you might got a bad rap. He might got a bad rap. He was the one that put Delta into position and authorized Delta. You are now have in the United States Army as the Sergeant Major of the Army, the one and only ever to serve that was an actual Delta operator. Pretty unique. That all of a sudden we finally have a Sergeant Major of the Army that was an actual bona fide for damn near 20 years operator at the operator level. Thanks everybody for letting
Thanks,
me
Conan.
turn your ear.
Thank you, sir.
So we're not coming out here, and everybody knows the problems. We're all, we can sit around and piss and moan and complain about all the stuff that's bad, and we can, talk about what we can do to be better ourselves. But we just don't want to say, hey, yeah, you need to get involved. You need to do this. You need to do that, and then leave you by yourself because everybody's going to be, what do I do? What do I do? I mean, if one thing that we've heard as we've now like our third circuit around the country, mine anyway. I want to do something, but I just don't know how. I don't know what to do. So Lewis, in his infinite wisdom, has freedom in action. He's always coming up with some fantastic things. These are tools. This is a framework, if you will, of what to do and how to do it. It started off initially as a holding place for a lot of the banned videos of information that's, because all the censorship and all that stuff. So they were all compiled there. That's still going to be there in an archive situation. But the rework of the freedominaction.net is the website. freedominaction.net looks kind of like this. And it basically talks about us taking back our power. We have all the power. We already know that. All these different things here are ones that work for us, and they have no jurisdiction over you. You have a higher position in the hierarchy than what they think, right? I don't need to file any paperwork to be sovereign. I'm already sovereign. Nothing has changed in my status. It's their view of my status that's changed, adjust their view. So everybody can make a difference. Every single person has a different gift, a different passion, something that really gets you a little, get the God bumps, get the hair flowing. Whether it's election, stuff, health stuff, school boards, sheriff, all these different things, areas that you can work in and make a difference in, like some certain topics we're going to see. Right now, we're in the framework building stage. These are not clickable links, but in the future, they will be clickable links. If you were to click on the link of, say, speaking to a school board, you're going to see a little framework, a little outline, because every area is a little bit different, so it's going to be generalized. But how to find the school board meeting, what to do, getting involved, how to speak with, purpose and action, the 3-minute speech. So there's going to be a little framework on each of these topics. Writing letters, that's hugely important. You can, if you write letters properly to like a freedom of information request or just a general letter and you get a response back, you can glean information that's in writing that you can, archive that for some future stuff. Peacefully protesting. Let's see, being a digital warrior. A lot of people are really good at being digital warriors, but we need more, right? Doesn't matter if, we know Facebook and all these other things, they are evil tools, but I use them as a firing position. That's why I continue to try to put stuff on YouTube. I continue to try to do stuff on Facebook because it's a firing position. Whether I'm shadow banned or not, if I can affect one person can see some of the posts that I do or some information or a video link or something like that, that one person, boom, then you can, it's an exponential growth after that. Praying, manifesting, and living without fear. Those are kind of the key tenets of what we're about, right? Praying, they all go together. Living without fear is huge. Our government is who we need to be within in our Creator's eyes. Social media strategy. So all of these different topics are going to have some generalized framework and steps, so you can take some action, right? Because unless knowledge without action is just doesn't mean anything, right? So we can know stuff, but unless we use that knowledge and take a step, then we're not going to make a difference until we take some action. So freedom in action, one of the cool things, Lewis is a crazy dude. He's spent tens of thousands of dollars developing an app for the Patriot community. Freedom in Action is the name of the app. It's going to be on the Google Play Store. It's going to be on the dark side, which what do they call those things? Apple Store. Yeah. It's going to be on there. I don't know how long it'll stay, but we'll have another option, a backup option to be able to download that app. But what that'll do is then here in your area or wherever you are, whether you're in Bend or Idaho, wherever, you can plug it, sign up, get on there. It's anonymous, right? You can put a fake pseudonym or whatever. We're not DARPA LifeLog, Facebook, to collect all your data. So you can just look by zip code. So you put in your zip code, you can specify 10, 20, 30, 50, up to 4,000 miles, and you can find other Patriots who are on the app in your area. And so you can get connected, right? Get connected with other people and help and organize. If there's one thing that I could suggest to anybody, if you're not already doing, is to get involved, find a Patriot group, another group of people. It can start off small. If there's not one that you can find, start your own, right? It could be 2 people in a house meeting, and then you can grow and grow and grow. Something very, very local and that you can, meet, share ideas, and develop game plans to help affect your local community. You can do that through the Freedom in Action app. Until that it's going to be available soon.
In fact, I can update that. So just today, I got my final download from the last round of changes that I made. And I'll be downloading it tonight on my phone. I have to delete my old one, download this last one. I think we're on version 17, I believe, actually. Anyways, and I'm going to delete that, and I'll be testing it out tonight. And I got a notice from Google that it looks like tomorrow we will be approved, which took forever on Google Play. They kept saying, oh, we can't read your ID. We can't understand it. You're not authorized. You can't. And I'm like, how clear do you need the picture to be on the ID? So anyways, so it looks like this is right around the corner now, which is, by the way, it's been a year in the making. I announced it about a year ago. So what's really cool, though, is everybody feels like we're on an island of some sort. We get enough people on this app, and it's free. It doesn't cost a penny, so there's no monetary value there whatsoever. So what happens is you get on there, and let's say within 50 miles, I want to see if anybody's having good conversations, Patriot conversation, Patriot post, blah, blah. If you put within 50 miles, they're within that realm right there. So you could start having conversations with them. Now, they're going to have a pseudonym because we're not trying to give the cabal anything that they can do to be able to target us. To have a pseudonym, but you can start matching up, say, hey, there's a meeting going here. Or, hey, why don't we all meet over here? It's going to be really cool. That's power right there. This is epic power. Can you imagine there's a school board meeting and they have pornographic material in the middle school? Go on right there. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, guys, we're going to address this issue with the pornographic material in the middle school. Let's get 50 or 100 people to show up. Click, click, click. Boom. How powerful is that? You don't even have to knock on the door to do that. This is a game changer. Take it to another level. There's a section, and this is what they've been working on for me. I'm going to test it tonight. It says events. Any events in the country, I don't care what Patriot group it is, they can post it here. I'm not the arbiter of what Patriot group is good or what First Amendment group is good or 2A group. I'm not the arbiter to tell you what I'm going to give everybody the free opportunity to post all their events. Clay Clark can come on here and post all his events. I don't give a damn. But the cool thing about it, you can geo-target that also. So you can say, what events are going on within the Patriot community within 50 miles? Say you want to travel 100 miles. I'll travel 100 miles. Boom. It'll pop up. This is how we galvanize we the people together. I think this is an absolute game changer. It's exciting. There's one other thing. Unfortunately, this doesn't work for Oregon because you have what's called the test case, by the way. And I'm going to get into that really quick because it's important. But first, I'll just say for those that are watching, on election day, when I was playing around with it and asking the app builders, I found out my app has a time and date stamp on it automatically. Can you imagine in other states where they're actually going to the polls and they're seeing illegal stuff? They take a picture of it, they document it, boom. Take a picture all over the country. Now, in every area, you have an actual evidentiary stronghold. You go, this is what happened here. I have time, date, stamp, precinct, blah, 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 blah. This is going to be very, very powerful to start monitoring our elections. And who needs to do that? We, the people, need to monitor our own elections. You can do that through that. I kind of stumbled onto that, and I called Dr. Doug Frank, if anybody's familiar with him, and he's like, "Oh my God, that's brilliant!" So that's on there, which is cool. So I totally lost my train of thought, but that's
The test case.
oh, the test case. So Oregon is the test case. So in 2018, I love telling the story.
That's it.
In 2018, in Orange County, California, they had a big, huge ballot harvesting test. Oh, so you think. So what happened is at the end of the night in 2018, 5 Republicans won the seats in the county. By the morning, they all lost, and the Democrats had those seats in 2018. That was the first time they ever ballot harvested right there. It's not the first time they ever ballot harvested, though. The CIA has been doing this over countries for decades, and they know it's very effective. They know how to run it, and they've been changing out governments all over the world for a long, long time. So they knew that worked already. They had no doubt. They already knew their 5 boys were going to be in there. What they were testing, though, is the level of pushback they got when they did it. The next day, all the Republicans, all the people that were surrounding them said, "Hey, well, we'll get them next time." At that moment, see that?
Exactly what happened.
It's exactly what happened. But they tested it in 2018. They've tested mail-in ballots in 1996 going forward right here in your state. The reason why there's such a big push, because they know that you are living in a red state that they call blue. They know it. So they can do whatever they want if they can do that. You guys, this is the hardest state. You have a clue. You have no access to anything. Only thing you have access is the numbers they show you, and as he says, if you can get a hold of FOIA, the digital assets that they have, it's crazy. So you are the test subject that's been working really well. The reason why you hear in the news now and everywhere else they're pushing all over for this is because it worked right here, just like ballot harvesting worked in Orange County, California. It's constant. Everything they do is a test. You can find history of this going back hundreds of years, that they'll do a little test on the population. If it works, then they bring it out wholly. It's slimy as hell, but that's exactly what's going on. I do believe we are going to win. I do believe we are winning. Now, I'm the guy that's been at the top of the mountain screaming for 4 years, we the people have to enact. At the same time, I also understand there has to be a secret military operation going, because a state like yours has no chance without somebody else getting involved because of what they've already done to the elections. All the other states that don't have the same election issue you have, we still can fight it. We, the people, have a way to get in there. They just have to activate, right? So what can you do in the meantime? And it sounds funny, but praying and manifesting is huge. Meeting all your neighbors is huge. Activating, but where you can make the biggest impact is in your school boards, your city council meetings, and your board meetings, because the micro does absolutely fix the macro. And we have seen that it takes 0.1% of people to show up in any one direction. How many people are in Bend, Oregon? Anybody have an idea? 107,000. 107. So 107,000. Anybody know?
Wow, so you know that down to the person.
Yeah. Anybody know what 1/10 of 1? Anybody know what 1/10 of 1% of 107,000 is?
107. 107.
It's 107. It is. So if you have something freaky going on at one of your schools, and you can get just 1/10 of 1%, 107 people with the exact same message, and here's where we make the mistakes. We go in these boardrooms and we all want to pray our different Bible verse, and we all want to say all these different things, and they're sitting up, they're going, ooh, good, 2 minutes gone, 2 minutes gone, 2 minutes gone, we're out. If you organize before you get in there, Say, we're all going to be on the same page on one or two things. That's it. And you hammer them. You will start to see movement, and it will blow you away. You will end up taking over your own school board. That's a guarantee. The challenge is we do not organize properly. We all go in there separate because what happened, conservative patriots, we're independent as hell, right? Okay. Well, you better figure a way to get your independents on the same page and attack these issues one or two at a time. And you'll be very, very effective. Organize outside the meeting, just like a military operation. You create your game plan. You organize outside the meeting. You understand somebody's going to be there to record. Somebody's going to be there to put them on record and tell them they're on record. For the record, little words like that matter. You go on there, you say, we will not have this. The next one, we will not have this. We will not have this. We will not have this. They will cave. If they don't cave in the first or the second, they'll cave in the third or the fourth. We've seen it time and time again, but it won't happen unless you guys organize. But the good news is 0.1% is all you need. It's not that big of a deal, right? And it could be a lot less. I've seen 30 go into a meeting and change everything.
The key is the organization beforehand
It's
and getting everybody there
on the
to
same
say,
message.
just, hey, tonight 5 + 5 = 10. I don't care about 9 + 1. I don't care about 8 + 2. But tonight, all of us, it's 5 + 5 = 10. Go in there with that same message, and like you said, we have seen it happen over and over and
Yep.
over and over again.
So it happens. It can happen. It's just about organization and getting on the same page. It is so powerful. It'll blow you away. But we, the people, are the plan. We really do. We just have to step up, and God's going to take care of the rest. You had success? Yeah. Exactly. So there's a test case right now in Jack.
In Idaho?
Yeah.
He's in Caldwell.
So there's a test case in Jacksonville that we're testing something out. I had this idea about a year ago, and I pleaded with people. I said, here's what we need to do. If you're having trouble with, say, a school board, create your own school board. They said, what? I go, create your own school board. You don't have to name it a school board. Get the parents together, everybody go, and you create 5 people, have them voted in by we the people, create your own school board, and you address all the things that are most important. And then you take that power in numbers, and then you go directly to the administrators and say, this is what we need to do. Well, you need to take a school board. No, we don't. We have the power in the numbers. You need to make some changes. Do you want us all to show up at your school board and embarrass you? Because we will. Because I guarantee you, when you do that, you're going to have 200 people at your board meetings. They're going to have 30 at theirs. And when you come in and force all with the same thing, say, this is the 200, all agree on this, boom, handle it. You're going to start seeing resignations from school boards because of the pressure. This is huge. So finally in Jacksonville, after a year of me pleading for somebody to try this, they're putting it together as we speak. And I'm very excited. I have no doubt that it's going to be successful because parents want to be heard, right? I would put somebody from the student council on there. Students want to be heard. And you would be surprised. Students are a lot more amenable to this conversation than you would think. They're starting to figure out that they're being indoctrinated. It's very, very powerful. So there's little things we can do. And like I always say, the micro fixes the macro. Let's take care of our stuff right here in our home, and it spreads out. And the macro is going to take care of itself because when we build our foundation properly, there's nothing they can do. And the strength in numbers, it's time to create the numbers. It really is. And I think we got it. And everyone in here is an absolute warrior. You wouldn't even showed up tonight.
In my county, Jim County, the commissioners, they were fighting this thing about a mine right next to mining gravel or something from Payette River. Anyway, so it's a no-no. Nobody wants it. And so